Hello everyone, my name is Karen Bliss and I have come to you today from the Carlsbad City Library to talk about some exciting teen reads that you can dive into this summer. From popular author John Green comes another YA read that is sure to keep you page turning well into the night. Will Grayson, Will Grayson is a co-authored book by John Green and David Lethem. Meet Will Grayson. He's a high school student in Evanstown who would prefer to blend into the background. His two rules for himself are shutting up and not caring. This wallflower routine is pretty difficult to do when your best friend is a massively gay, fabulous extrovert by the name of Tiny Cooper. Tiny is the inhabitant of an enormous mansion and one of the best offensive linemen on the school's football team. He is often in the limelight and drags Will in there with him. Now let's meet the other Will Grayson from Naperville. The only thing he really cares about is getting home from school so he can hop on the computer and message Isaac, his online friend. Yes, it's true, they've never met in person, but it's not like that. It's always just been comfortable talking with Isaac. They know everything about each other, and if they could meet in person, they would. But Isaac lives in Ohio, and neither of them drives. So for now, they just have to settle with their daily online messages about music and school and life. Now, Will Grayson meets Will Grayson. One cold night in a most unlikely corner of Chicago, these two strangers are about to cross paths. From that moment on, their world will collide and lives intertwine. With a push from friends new and old, Will and Will begin building toward an epic production of what will be history's most awesome high school musical, and one that will change their outlooks on life. This is Will Grayson, Will Grayson. Next we have a semi-definitive list of worst nightmares by Crystal Sutherland. Ever since Esther Solar's grandfather met death, her entire family has been doomed to suffer one great fear in their lifetime. A fear that will eventually lead each and every one of them to their graves. Take Esther's father, for instance. He's an agoraphobe who hasn't left the basement in 6 years. Then there's her twin brother Eugene, whose fear of the dark goes far beyond the things that go bump in the night. And her mother, Rosemary, is absolutely terrified of bad luck. As for Esther, she's managed to escape this curse, so far. She doesn't yet have a great fear because she avoids pretty much everything. Elevators, small spaces, crowds, anything that might trigger a phobia is off limits and is meticulously recorded in her semi-definitive list of worst nightmares. Better safe than sorry, right? Esther thinks she has it all figured out until she's reunited with an old crush, Jonah Smallwood. The encounter leaves her stranded at a bus stop and swindled out of her phone, all her cash, a fruit roll-up she'd been saving, and her list, not to mention her dignity. But the theft is also the beginning of an unexpected friendship between the two, one that sends the pair on a journey of self-discovery as they try to break this curse that has consumed Esther's family. Together, they face their greatest fears, one debilitating phobia at a time, only to discover that one fear they hadn't counted on: love. Face your fears with a semi-definitive list of worst nightmares by Crystal Sutherland. You may have heard of him before, but you've never heard this side of the story. This is Ripper by Stefan Petruka. Carver Young loves a good mystery, but his mystery is the biggest one he knows. He was left on the doorstep of an orphanage as a baby with no idea who his mother or father may be. The only piece of evidence he has is part of a note that he swiped from his file in the orphanage. As a budding detective, Carver is keen to get to the bottom of this mystery, but he's going to need some help. Carver sees his opportunity when he learns that the new police commissioner will be attending a prospective parent day at the orphanage the following week. He decides to write him a letter and then speak to him in person. However, when no response comes from Commissioner Theodore Roosevelt, Carver is dejected and feels like all hope is lost. Much to his surprise, in the middle of the prospective parent day festivities, he comes face to face with Albert Hawking from the Pinkerton Agency. Carver is starstruck. These are the guys who coined the term private eye, for goodness sakes. It turns out Hawking's men intercepted the letter that Carver wrote to Roosevelt and were impressed with his sleuthing prowess. They believe he will make a good assistant for Hawking, and have even agreed to help him locate his father as part of his training. Simultaneously, the New York City Police Department is in an utter panic as a vicious serial killer is on the loose. Starting with the gruesome murder of an elite woman during a library function, the bodies are beginning to pile up. Carver's mission to find his parents and this murder investigation come together in a most unexpected way. The truth may be worse than Carter ever imagined, and he will have to decide where his true loyalty lies. Read The Ripper by Stefan Petruka. From the author of the wildly popular Lunar Chronicles, this is Renegades by Marissa Meyer. Welcome to a world of adventure, danger, and betrayal. Secret identities, extraordinary powers. The Renegades are a collection of prodigies, humans with extraordinary abilities, who emerged from the ruins of a crumbled society. They established peace and order where chaos once reigned. As champions of justice, these superheroes remain a symbol of hope and courage to everyone, except for the villains that they once overthrew. Nova, aka Nightmare, has a reason to hate the Renegades, and she is on a mission for vengeance. As she gets closer to her target, she meets Adrian, a renegade boy who believes in justice and in Nova. But Nova's allegiance is to a villain who has the power to end them both. Find out what happens to Nova in Renegades by Marissa Meyer. Our last book talk is about I Am the Messenger by Marcus Cusack. Ed Kennedy is 19 years old, and he has nothing to show for it. He lives alone in a little shack with his dog called the Doorman. He never went to university, and the height of his career is his current job as a cab driver. His friends tell him that he's too young to be having a midlife crisis and to not worry about it. But at 19, Bob Dylan was a seasoned performer. Salvador Dali had produced painting masterpieces. Joan of Arc started a revolution and became one of the most important women in history. And then there's Ed Kennedy. Anyway, this is what Ed is thinking about as he's laying on the cold floor of the bank in the middle of a holdup. The gunman is waving his gun around unsurely, and Ed's friend Marvin is going on and on about how his Ford Falcon is not a heap of junk. Could Marv be serious for just 1 minute? This is a bank robbery, for goodness sake. And if he doesn't keep his mouth shut, he's going to get the both of them killed. As if reading Ed's mind, the robber starts to walk over to them, angered that these two have the gall to be holding a conversation in the middle of his stick-up. It's obvious that this is his first time doing anything criminal, and to make matters worse, he's just noticed that his getaway car has left him behind. That's when the burglar gets a grand idea to steal Marv's Falcon that he's been going on about. He takes the money, makes a break for it, leaving his gun behind. Definitely a newbie. Ed Kennedy then acts on instinct. He's not even sure why he does it, but he grabs the gun, runs after the burglar, and finds him sitting in the car, trying to turn over the engine for the 3rd time. With no luck. This thing really is a heap of junk. Ed fires a warning shot through the windshield and keeps the guy there until the police arrive. Overnight, Ed becomes a local celebrity, taking interviews and popping up in newspapers. You might think that this is the highlight of the story, but this event doesn't even compare to what happens next. Ed receives an ace of diamonds in the mail, with 3 addresses on it. Little does he know that this is the first in a series of playing cards sent his way. What do the cards mean? And who's sending them? Is it because of his so-called heroic act at the bank? Find out when you read I Am the Messenger by Marcus Cusack. Alright, thanks so much for listening. I hope you've been inspired to pick up 1 or more of these copies at your local library and get reading this summer. Bye-bye.